breathing, hopefully. Okay, so before we start, try and remember to have a glass of water just in case you get thirsty. It's very important. Try and stay hydrated. Okay, so we're going to stand with our feet hip distance apart. We're going to, if you don't know how to sort of gauge if your feet are hip distance, feel around, find the hip bone. Hi Simon. Point your fingers down. Oh, hang on.
It's a puppy. Oh, I mean a charger.
Thank you. Just get my phone charging so it doesn't run out of juice in the middle of the session. Okay, good. So we're going to stand with our feet hip distance apart. So we feel around, find the actual hip bone, then point your finger down so that you're kind of pointing just where the hip bone is. So it's not that part of your hip, it's the actual bone. You want your big toe to be just underneath the hip bone, and then the weight equally distributed between the big toe, the outside of your foot, and your heel. We want our knees to be nice and loose, so if you're able to have straight legs, that's great, and I'm jealous, but if you tend to sort of lock your knees tight, then, yeah, so if you tend to lock your knees tight, then you can have them slightly bent, that's okay. We're going to imagine we've got a string coming out the top of our head to elongate our spine, so nice long neck, nice straight spine, shoulders down. Again, like I say each time, you know, if you hold a lot of tension in any of these particular places, sometimes it's very hard. Like I really struggled to put my shoulders down. Try not to force it though, because I have done that in the past, and you know, you can actually quite hurt yourself if you're not ready. You know, it takes time to relax the muscles, so you can relax them more than they are today, but maybe to get them exactly where they need to be might take, you know, weeks, months, years even. So, you know, if we know the ideal sort of posture that we're aiming for, and then gradually we'll improve, but we just don't want to force anything, and you know, when our body's ready, it will be able to relax. You know, it sounds silly, and a lot of people go, I know how to relax, but you know, when you really sort of think about it, and if you really sort of, depending, I mean, you know, some people don't have many issues at all, but you know, for a lot of people, it can take time. So you know, don't worry about it, and don't try and force anything. Just relax, and you know, as and when the bad habits creep back in, if you get distracted and things like this, you know, don't beat yourself up. The more stressed you get about it, the more tense you'll be, and the worse the problem gets. So always try and relax out of any of these little problems, and just be mindful of them, and that often helps quite a lot. So we're going to just swing from our hips. We want to try to keep this nice straight spine. I'm not very good at doing that, so don't watch me. But we're just going to swing, and our arms are just going to sort of swing round with the momentum of the swing. So we're not really moving our arms. Make sure you're not going to hit your arm on anything. So yeah, we're not really moving our arms. They're just swinging with the momentum of us swinging from our hips. And hopefully this is just going to get the blood sort of pumping around our bodies a little bit, warm us up, and just help shake out some little creases, things like this. So very good. Okay, and come back to still and just shake it out. So each week we are going through different, choosing a different body part, because like I said, everybody holds their tension in a different place. So, you know, hopefully some of these exercises you'll feel like, no, I'm pretty relaxed in this position, and then others you might think, oh yeah, I do hold tension there. So even if it's not a problem area for you, it's still good to do these exercises anyway. So here we are this week doing hips. So we're gonna just slightly bend our knees a little bit more now. You can keep your arms by your side or just put your hands on your hips, whatever feels easier, we're going to do an isolation exercise. So we're going to bring our hips forward, center, and then back to the center. I'll just angle this down a little bit more in case that makes it easier. So we're going to go forward, center, and back, center, and we're going to try to keep everything else still. So we're not going to sort of be moving our rest of our body. It's an isolation exercise, so we're just isolating the hips, and everything else is nice and still. Back, center, forward, center, back, center, forward, center, back, center. Now we're just going to go straight through, and we're not going to stop in between. We just want it to be nice, smooth, forward and back, and then come back to the center. Now we're going to go right, center, left, center, and again we really want to try not to move anything other than our hips. So it does help to be able to look in the mirror, because sometimes you don't feel like you're moving something, but people are sort of going like this, and you don't notice that you're doing it until you see yourself. So if you are able to look in the mirror, that's very helpful. And just straight through. Obviously, if you can't get to a mirror, then it doesn't matter. Just do the best you can, and just try and be mindful of what other parts of your body are doing. So, in fact, come and stop. So that's quite an interesting idea actually in general, that it's not just the bit of your body that's actually doing the work, i.e. in this isolation exercise, just the hips, because you've got to keep everything else still and you want to move the other things. So you actually have to think about other parts of your body, even though ideally they're not doing anything. So that's quite, a bit of a metaphor for everything we're doing, because even though we only want to be breathing in a certain way and having our posture relaxed, but sometimes you have to think about not doing things as well as thinking about doing things, if that makes sense. Okay, so we'll come back to the hips. So we're going to go forward, right, back, left, forward, left, back, right, forward, right, back, left, forward, left, back, right, forward, right, back, left, forward, left, back, right. Very good. And we'll just circle in one direction. And back the other way. Again, as we're using more parts of the hips, it makes it harder, and shake it out, not to move other things, but whenever you're doing an isolation exercise, we want to try to keep everything else nice and still. Okay, so we're going to come back to standing with our feet hip distance apart. Now we're going to turn our focus to our breathing. We're going to push with our diaphragm to squeeze the air out of our lungs. Then we're going to relax and drop the diaphragm and just allow the air to flood back in. So the diaphragm, for anybody that doesn't know, and even if you do, it's always good to recap. If you feel around and sort of feel like the bottom ribs, and that is where your diaphragm sits. It's like a sort of tarpaulin. And that's always the muscle that is used to breathe. The lungs are just sort of bags, and they do their thing, but the actual kind of pulling the air in and pushing the air out is done with the diaphragm. And the way most people think of breathing is to actively take in a breath and then relax and sigh it out. What we're doing now is we're flipping it on its head. The muscular part, the bit where we're working, we're going to push to squeeze the air out of our lungs with the diaphragm. Then we relax, drop the diaphragm, and allow the air to flood back in. So if you want to think of it, if you're able to visualize it in your mind's eye, that's great. If you're squeamish and you want to think of your lungs being balloons, or there being like a syringe that gets pushed, and then when it drops down it fills with air, Or the bellows is quite a good one, where you sort of push the air out and then if you drop it, the air comes back in. Whatever works for you, but what we're really trying to do is just change that mindset so that we're pushing the air out, then relaxing to drop the diaphragm and just allow the air to come back in. So in a minute, we're going to add some arm movements that are going to reflect what's going on internally. So we're going to bring our hands up like this as we breathe out. Then when we relax and drop our diaphragm, we're going to relax, drop our hands as well. And then we're going to bring our arms up, and that represents the rib cage expanding as our lungs fill with air. So before we add the arm movements, and I'll talk you through it when we do it, we're just going to get into a little rhythm. So we're going to bend and straighten our legs. No jerky movements, just nice, smooth, down, up. And on the down is always like the little and then we're going to breathe out and in, and out and in. So it's always on the up, and out and in, and push and drop the diaphragm, and push and relax, and just add the arms, push and relax, push, relax. Go to the side on the next one. And come back to the middle and shake it out. Nice big stretch and yawn. Very good. Okay, so we're going to get back into our comfortable position, hopefully with the correct posture. If you want to sit down, you're welcome to. Still try to get feet hip distance apart, get into all the right, nice long neck string coming out of the top of our head. Nice long spine, shoulders down, arms by your side. If you're going to sit down, then just, have a chair behind you, sit down, get comfortable. Still try and keep this nice and straight. We don't want to cross our legs or hold our knees together because we're just trying to avoid using any muscles that don't need to be used, basically. So we're just nice and relaxed. If you're sitting, you can have your hands on your lap, or just by your sides. If you're standing, just by your sides. And we want to feel like if we were to bend our arms, bend our elbows, the elbows are going to go out this way, so we're not holding our arms like this way, that way around. Okay, so now we're going to push with our diaphragm to squeeze the air out of our lungs. Then we're going to when we get to the end of the breath, we're going to find a spot on the wall that is roughly our own eye level, so that we obviously then don't have to be affecting our posture looking up or down. We're going to channel the air to that spot. When we get to the end of the breath, we're going to push a little bit more, squeeze out the air a little bit more. Then we're going to hold it for a few seconds, as long as you can. Then when you finally really need to breathe, you're just going to relax, drop the diaphragm and just allow the air to flood back in. So like I say each time, we're pushing ourselves, this is stretching, so it's good to be out of your comfort zone, but especially because I can't be in the room with you, you've got to know your own body. If it hurts or feels uncomfortable, or if anything doesn't feel right, then obviously just stop, do the exercise more gently, or sit this exercise out. You can still just, think about the breathing with the diaphragm, pushing and then dropping when you relax. if you don't feel comfortable doing this exercise, that's absolutely fine. But if you can, I want you to push. Then when you need to breathe in, I want you to just push a little bit more, then hold it, then relax, drop the diaphragm, and just allow the air to flood back in, and channeling it to the spot that's your eye level. Try not to hold back any air. What a lot of people do at first is they hold back air because they think it will just make their breath last a little bit longer. But what happens is you then feel that you need to breathe before your lungs are empty. So then you start breathing again on top of the air, and then you start hyperventilating because there's sort of too much air in your lungs. You need to get rid of all the air, and that's where this muscular part, you're going to push, try and get rid of all the air before you're going to relax and allow more air to come in. If you need to, sometimes it helps when you get to the end and you're doing the extra little push, if your diaphragm isn't very strong yet, to just put your hands on your ribs and just give it a little squeeze, because you'll be amazed, there's usually more air in than you realise, so that can be quite helpful. Make sure you don't raise your shoulders if you're going to put your hands here, and again, we're trying to stretch ourselves, but we also need to be gentle and see if it hurts or anything feels uncomfortable, obviously just stop. Okay, so come to the end of whatever breath you're currently on, and then we're going to switch to a shh sound. So it's exactly the same thing. We're going to push with the diaphragm, squeeze the air out of our lungs, then push a little bit more, then hold it, then relax, drop the diaphragm, allow the air to flood back in. But now we're going to do this on a shh. Very good, and all the while, I want you to still be mindful of your body. So again, if you're able to be looking in a mirror, that's great, because even though you're channeling it, you're sort of looking into your own eyes, you'll still be aware of what the rest of your body's doing. And even if you're not looking in the mirror, still, try to just be aware. So, if whatever your bad habits happen to be, everyone's is different and have different reasons for why they do these things that they do. But if you start to notice, for example, that you start leaning on one leg, or doing whatever your bad habits are, just relax, gently try and correct them. Don't force it, don't get annoyed at yourself. It's completely natural. If you've had these bad habits for years, sometimes it could be decades that you've stood in a certain way. You're not going to just suddenly change all that in one day. So just forgive yourself, just relax, it's okay, and we'll just get used to standing in a better posture, and gradually over time, eventually, hopefully, you'll be able to, that will be your natural posture, but it takes time. Okay, so come to the end of whatever breath you're currently on, and we just shake it out a little bit, make sure we're not tense. Okay, so we're going to come back to our comfortable position, whether we're standing or sitting, it's absolutely fine. I want you to look at your spot, and then I want you to close your eyes, and I just want you to get into a nice comfortable rhythm breathing. You can breathe through your nose or your mouth, or a combination of the two, whatever's comfortable, I don't mind. But what I do want you to be thinking about is pushing with the diaphragm, then relaxing, dropping the diaphragm and just allowing the air to flood back in. So whatever rhythm you're getting into, it's still that same principle, that the out breath is where we're working and pushing. That's the muscular part. The in breath is to just relax, drop the diaphragm and just allow the air to flood back in. So whilst you're doing this, I want you to now start to listen to whatever sounds you can hear outside the room that you're in. All the while you're going to push with your diaphragm to squeeze the air out of your lungs, then relax, drop the diaphragm, just allow the air to flood back in. But you're just going to listen to whatever sounds are outside the room. Could be a car driving past, could be raining, it might be completely silent, then you'll listen to that silence, and whatever else you can hear, whatever other sounds are in the room, in your mind, thoughts and things happening, you can't block them, but you're not going to listen to them. You're just going to listen to whatever you can hear outside the room that you're in, and all the while push with your diaphragm, squeeze the air out of your lungs, then relax, drop the diaphragm and just allow the air to flood back in. Very good. So now I want you to continue pushing with your diaphragm, squeezing the air out of your lungs, then relaxing, dropping the diaphragm, just allowing the air to flood back in. Now I want you to take a step closer with your mind's eye, and I want you to just listen to whatever you can hear inside the room that you're in. So it might be a clock ticking, might be a radiator buzzing, it might be completely silent, then you'll listen to that silence and all the while push with your diaphragm, squeeze the air out of your lungs, then relax, drop the diaphragm, just allow the air to flood back in. continue pushing with your diaphragm, squeezing the air out of your lungs, then relaxing, dropping the diaphragm, allowing the air to flood back in. Now I want you to take a step closer with your mind's eye, and I want you to just listen to whatever sounds your own body is making. So you might be able to hear your heart beating, you might hear yourself breathing, you might be completely silent, and you're going to listen to that silence, and all the while you're going to push with your diaphragm to squeeze the air out of your lungs, then relax, drop the diaphragm and just allow the air to flood back in. Very good. So now I want you to keep pushing with your diaphragm, squeezing the air out of your lungs, then relaxing, dropping the diaphragm, just allowing the air to flood back in. Now I want you to put those three things together. So I want you to listen to the world outside the room you're in, and the room that you're in, and to your own body. And I want you to sort of feel yourself in that space, feel your connection to the world around you, feel your presence and yourself present in this space, and all the while pushing with your diaphragm, squeezing the air out of your lungs, then relaxing, dropping the diaphragm and just allowing the air to flood back in. just open your eyes, take a little look around, just feel yourself in the space. Very good, everybody. Excellent session. So we're going to finish off as we always do with a little sing-along. This week's song is You Don't Love Me, No, No, No by Don Penn. I have got some lyrics in the description, so I'll just give you a sec to find them if you need them. So I'll just take this opportunity to say thank you so much for watching. It's really fun when people are doing this along with me, and it encourages me to do it at all, so thank you very much for joining me. Special thank you to anybody who is also supporting me on Patreon or PayPal. That's very, very helpful, so thank you so much. And then to remember, whilst we're singing, we want to try and put into practice these breathing techniques that we've been using. So as we're singing, we're pushing with the diaphragm to squeeze the air out of our lungs. Then we're going to relax, drop the diaphragm to allow the breath back in to sing the next line. So let's get started. Thank you, Simon. No, 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 you don't love me, and I know now. No, 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 you don't love me, and I know now. Because you left me, baby, and I got no place to go now. No, 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 I'll do anything you say, boy. No, 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 I'll do anything you say, boy. And if you ask me, baby, I get on my knees to pray, boy. Thank you very much. I will be back tomorrow and every weekday at 11 AM Greenwich Mean Time. So hopefully I will see you again soon. In the meantime, have a great Thursday. Lots of love and keep breathing. Bye.